Hello everyone, friends, this is part 3, support me with a like and a comment, have a nice day. It's been a few weeks since the conversation with Jenna. I filed for divorce almost immediately after, and now we were in the middle of the worst part, trying to figure out how to co-parent our son, Lucas, while navigating a world where the woman I loved was now a stranger to me. We'd agreed on temporary custody arrangements for now. I had him during the week, she had him on weekends. It was awkward, painful even. Every time Jenna picked him up or dropped him off, I felt the weight of everything between us. The anger, the hurt, the betrayal, it all hung in the air like a thick fog. Lucas, unaware of the tension, still acted like everything was fine. He'd run to her with a smile on his face when she arrived, his little hand stretched out to her, and I hated how natural it all seemed. How could he still love her when she had done this to me? To us? It wasn't fair. Jenna tried to act like the loving mother, but it was clear to me now, her smile was plastic. Every time she spoke, I could feel the fake sweetness in her tone. The lies were still there. I couldn't look at her without feeling disgusted by everything she had done. But there was more to deal with now. Jenna had become a master manipulator in the wake of everything. Whenever I tried to get serious about talking about the divorce or making any long-term plans for Lucas, she would cry, guilt-trip me, or bring up the past, anything to get her way. I remember the day we went to court. It wasn't supposed to be a fight, but everything had become one, thanks to Jenna's unwillingness to let go. She showed up wearing a carefully crafted mask of concern, playing the role of the heartbroken wife, but underneath, I knew she was ready to take everything from me. The lawyer I hired advised me to be calm, to not let her push my buttons. But how could I stay calm when she was still lying about everything? I found out through a few sources that she had been seeing Adrian, the driver, for months after our breakup, even while I was trying to figure things out with her. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back. The confrontation with Jenna during our court meeting was almost anticlimactic. She denied everything, of course. She lied through her teeth about the affair. But the look in her eyes, there was something cold there, something that made my stomach turn. She wasn't even pretending anymore to be the woman I once knew. I never wanted this to happen, Tom. I didn't want to hurt you, she said, her voice laced with insincerity. But I'm moving on now. I need you to do the same. I wasn't buying it. Not anymore. I'm not moving on, I said firmly, I'm protecting my son. And I won't let you keep playing games. The divorce process was long, painful, and emotionally exhausting. Jenna's lawyer tried every tactic in the book to make me look like the villain, painting me as a neglectful father, accusing me of sabotaging the relationship with Lucas. But in the end, the truth came through. Lucas was better off with me. He deserved stability, not the emotional chaos Jenna was bringing into his life. I made the decision to move on. It wasn't easy. Letting go of someone you thought you would spend the rest of your life with is never easy. But I had to do it. I had to think about Lucas. I had to think about myself. The papers were signed. The divorce process had officially begun. It was a surreal feeling, one I hadn't anticipated feeling so soon. But as I stared at the documents, I realized there was no going back. I was walking away from the life I had built with Jenna, away from the family I thought I understood. Telling Lucas was the hardest part. At only 2 years old, he wouldn't fully understand the gravity of the situation, but he would feel it. He would feel the absence of his mother in our home. Jenna wasn't around much anymore, and she had stopped pretending everything was fine. I could see the way she avoided the conversation when I brought it up. She had given up, just like I had. I took full responsibility for Lucas's care during this time. I knew she would fight me for custody, but she seemed distant, consumed with guilt and anger at me for filing the divorce. She no longer even tried to hide her disdain for me. I focused on work, and I tried to focus on being a father. I wasn't perfect, but I did my best. Despite the chaos, I found some solace in the routine, in the simple moments with Lucas, those moments when the world felt like it could still be good, even if everything else was falling apart. Co-parenting with Jenna was a nightmare. She barely made an effort to communicate with me, and when she did, it was mostly to argue over petty things: who bought the diapers, whose weekend it was to have Lucas, how much time she had with him. But the anger was palpable in every conversation, every exchange. She was bitter, and it showed. I couldn't understand how she could have turned into someone so cold, so indifferent to the life we'd once had. But her true colors had emerged. The guilt she had carried was gone, replaced by a sense of entitlement, like she deserved more, even though she had been the one to ruin everything. I felt conflicted. Part of me wanted to make it work for Lucas's sake, but another part of me knew that there was no repairing the damage Jenna had done. I was slowly accepting that this was the end of the road for us. One day, while dropping Lucas off at my parents' house, I had an unexpected encounter. I just finished unloading his things when I bumped into a familiar face outside the building: Adrian, the driver. I was frozen for a moment. What was he doing here? "Hey, Tom," he greeted, his tone surprisingly casual, like nothing had happened. But I knew. I knew exactly what had happened between him and Jenna. The betrayal. "What are you doing here?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, even though my pulse was racing. "I was just dropping something off for Jenna," he said. His eyes shifted nervously, avoiding mine. He knew I knew. I didn't say anything more. My anger flared again, but I held it in check. I wasn't going to waste my time on him, not anymore. I wasn't going to let him be part of my life. The atmosphere between Jenna and me had completely shifted. There was no longer any pretense of harmony, no effort to disguise the fractures that had formed in our relationship. After the divorce papers were signed, she was no longer trying to act like the woman I had once loved. No more pretending she cared about repairing our broken family. Jenna was done. That evening, as I walked into the living room, she was sitting there, sipping her wine like it was any other night. The house was eerily quiet, the kind of silence that presses down on your chest, suffocating you. It wasn't the quiet I had grown accustomed to, comfortable, peaceful, but the kind that made the tension in the air almost unbearable. "Did you see him?" she asked before I could even speak. "Adrian?" Her tone wasn't one of guilt. It wasn't even one of confrontation. It was casual, almost too casual, as if she didn't even care how her infidelity was affecting me anymore. "Yeah, I saw him," I said, my voice sharper than I intended. "What's it to you? Are you going to continue lying to me, pretending this didn't happen?" She sat up straighter, eyes cold and calculating. "Look, Tom, I've had enough of your righteous indignation. You want to act like you're the perfect husband? The perfect father? We both know that's not true. This marriage was doomed long before Adrian ever came into the picture. You were never there. You didn't give me what I needed." I could feel the words burn, but I forced myself to stay calm, to not let her see how much they hurt. "So, you think cheating was the answer? You think abandoning your family and your vows was the solution?" Jenna smirked, her expression cold. "You never listened to me, Tom." "Not really. You were so caught up in being the good guy that you couldn't see how miserable I was. Adrian, he understood me. He made me feel alive. You never did." I clenched my fists, willing myself not to lash out. Her words were poison, but the truth was, I didn't need to be here anymore. I had spent years trying to fix a marriage that was never meant to work, hoping that somehow, things would change. But nothing ever did. Adrian is the one you turn to? The guy you've been sleeping with behind my back? I took a deep breath. I don't care what you tell yourself. You ruined this family. And you destroyed me in the process. I was beyond angry now, but I wasn't surprised. The woman sitting in front of me was no longer the person I had fallen in love with. Jenna had changed, and I had been too blind to see it until it was too late. She stood up suddenly, walking toward me, her face contorting into something almost unrecognizable. "You think I care about your little speech, Tom? You think I care that you're hurt? No. You're just pissed that I've moved on, and you didn't get to have the last word. Well, I'm done, okay? I'm done trying to make you happy. You were never enough for me." Her words were final. There was no more bargaining, no more pretending. The woman I had known was gone, replaced by someone bitter, twisted, and filled with anger. Thank you very much for watching. Please support me by subscribing, liking and of course commenting. See you next videos.